Hey everyone, welcome to Nerd Talk. I'm Mike.
And I'm Chris.
And I'm James.
And today we are reviewing Star Wars Return of the Jedi. That's episode 6 of the Star Wars Saga. It's episode 8 of our review series.
I believe so.
Right? Because we got Rogue One and Solo in there, right?
Yeah.
So, so what we're going to do for you today is we're going to go through, as we've done previously, the story overall without any spoilers, what we, whether we liked our initial impressions. Then jump into spoiler-heavy plot summary, and then we'll jump into our finalized ranking on where we feel this fits across all the Star Wars movies. But before we get into that, today we are sponsored by Casamade. Casamade is a Canadian company that personalizes in custom vinyl creations. From our casa to your casa, their products are custom designed to meet your style and personality. Visit facebook.com/Casamade. That's facebook.com/CAZAMADE. Whether you're looking for something unique for yourself or a gift for someone else, Casamade has something for everyone.
Sure.
All right. So I guess we'll get right in. So who wants to go first as far as the
I'll jump in here. Enjoyed it very much.
Mm-hmm.
When I first watched the movie many years ago, this was the conclusion of the first two movies that you watch. You're getting all the answers. You know what happened to Solo, Luke, everyone. Where they at? They all depart at the end there, and then a couple go their separate ways. So what's the game plan? And then I was very happy with the entire movie. Loved watching it again. My kids, every movie they're just locked in, the quietest they ever are, and so I really enjoyed it.
Yep. Me too. Again, yeah, where they left off, where people split off, and I think it did a good job of tying everything off, right? The trilogy off. The final of the three. Introduced some new species, creatures. I enjoyed it quite much. Yeah.
Okay, big surprise. I liked it as well. It's a Star Wars movie. It's not to like. Return of the Jedi was great. Exactly, same sentiments. It answered a bunch of questions. We kind of got a little bit more finality to the whole story. Does certain characters find out the relationship to other people and that kind of stuff. So we get more finality to a lot of the answers that a lot of the questions we had from the previous first episode 4 and 5. So yeah, overall, great movie. Enjoyed it for sure. All right, so let's jump into the plot summary, and we'll go through that here. And again, as anytime, cut me off, interrupt, or stop me if you have anything to discuss.
Sounds good.
All right, so we open up with C-3PO and R2-D2 heading towards Jabba's palace in Tatooine. So in an attempt to rescue Han Solo from the crime lord Jabba the Hutt, C-3PO and R2-D2 are sent to Jabba's palace on Tatooine in a trade bargain made by Luke Skywalker. So they kind of go in and they become essentially Jabba's slaves, right?
Yeah. He said, "I'd like to offer you these droids."
That's right, as a gift.
Yeah.
So he does that. Okay, and then disguised as a bounty hunter, Princess Leia infiltrates the palace under the pretense of collecting the bounty on Chewbacca. So he comes in handcuffs, which you've seen done multiple times.
That poor guy, he's like,
that's it. Always a slave. And so so under the pretense of capturing him for Jabba, brings him in, and then at night, at the end of the whole festivities, she tries to unfreeze Han, but is caught and enslaved. Okay, so isn't much more to unpack there. We kind of see Lando is also disguised. He pulls on his mask as he sees them kind of after they get captured and whatnot. So we know that Lando's there in disguise. And Leia, obviously, when she takes off her helmet to reveal herself to Han, when they all pop out, they realize she's there and she's captured. Yeah, pretty straightforward. Interesting. Any thoughts on the changes to Jabba's scene and the music and all that kind of stuff? The crazy CG dancing around alien.
I could have gone without that. That's one of the knocks on the remakes of the film.
The original music was fine.
Yeah,
they didn't have to put a music video in.
It's
there.
like we were like, well, we need to add something, and this is something that we could do easily and make it look decent, but it made it worse and look horrible, in my opinion.
No comment.
Yeah. Before Leia gets captured, we do see Ula, who's dancing around, tries to escape or whatever, get away from Jabba, and so she gets sent down, and we see the first view of this Rancor. Do we see her? We see roaring and her screaming. We don't see her we don't get to see the monster until later. But we hear roaring and screaming, and essentially she gets eaten by some sort of beast. But So we know that he's got this trap in place.
That's right.
Okay, so soon after, Luke arrives to bargain for his friend's release. Using some Force powers, he's able to sneak inside and convince Bib Fortuna to take him in front of Jabba. He also knocks out some Gamorrean guards, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So he goes in front of Jabba, and Jabba basically doesn't agree to his negotiations and drops him in through the trapdoor down into the Rancor
Well,
pit.
Luke tries his Jedi mind trick.
Correct.
But
Yes, and it
Jabba's
doesn't
like,
work.
That doesn't work on
That's
me.
right.
Like,
And he says like weak-minded fool to Bib Fortuna because
Yeah.
he's being controlled by the Jedi mind trick. So yeah, so he gets dropped down, and he's got to face the Rancor along with a Gamorrean guard. Ends up accidentally slipping in.
yeah.
And so the Rancor comes out, eats the pig first, and then goes after Luke. Luke has this, back and forth cat and mouse kind of fight with him. Manages to trap the Rancor under the door and kills him. The door crushes him, right? So he's dead. So they kind of come out, grab Luke out of there. Jabba sentences him, Han, and Chewbacca to death by being fed to the Sarlacc, which is a huge carnivorous plant-like desert beast. All right, so they're, so the next day they're on the sail barge. It's morning, I guess now, and they're all heading off to the Sarlacc pit. Luke is in handcuffs, and Han and even Lando's there, right?
Well,
Lando
Lando's still a
captured it?
guard.
Yeah.
He's
So
still a guard.
yeah,
That's
so
right. That's right.
No
So
one
he's
knows
still in
he's still
disguise.
undercover.
You're right. Yeah. So he's there. And then on the sail barge we have R2D2 who's like some waiter serving drinks. We got C3PO and then Leia who's all chained up with Jabba.
In that beautiful outfit, best
That's
slave
it,
outfit
slave Leia.
ever. Just
Yeah.
like Padme's outfit.
That's it.
It's one of the best.
For sure. Okay, cool. So having hidden his lightsaber inside R2D2, Luke frees himself. He basically, signals to R2. R2 shoots the lightsaber up. He jumps up, grabs it, frees his handcuffs, frees Han and thing, and he goes to town and starts fighting all the bad guys on the sail barge. Boba Fett jumps in to try to take him down.
At this point, Lando's helping as well.
Yeah, so Lando helps knock some guys off, and they're all fighting. So he comes in. Luke's fighting him. He ties up Luke with his grappling hook, right? And then Luke has to cut it off, right? And then Luke goes to the other ship, and then Boba Fett is going to aim to take him out, and then Han, who's still
Blind,
essentially blind.
Yeah.
Chewie mentions Boba Fett. He's like, Boba Fett, where's Boba Fett? It inadvertently knocks his jetpack, explodes, whatever. He goes flying off, and he falls into the Sarlacc pit.
Yeah.
An unfortunate end to a great bounty hunter, but they had to do it some way.
Exactly. I feel like they didn't use him to his full potential.
No.
And that he had a lot of fan backing as well.
Like,
so
if he's going to do a fight,
so much...
they could have made it a much more dynamic fight.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
I agree. He is my favorite character. So yeah, it's tough to see.
It's
him
funny,
tough to
though.
see him go like that.
He has so many fans, but he's so small in this whole
Something
film.
about
All
him, I
three
don't know,
films.
something about him that,
He's not in the first
They
one
wanted
at
to
all.
make him mysterious.
Very small in the second, and then
Arguably, just like Phasma in the other.
It's the helmet and the
yes,
everything,
it's the
yeah,
helmet that
just-
gets a lot of people on
and the
the
outfit and everything. Yeah, it's just
That's really cool. So meanwhile, while this is going on, Leia takes her chance at this distraction to jump behind Jabba, throw her chain around his neck, and literally choke him to death.
Yeah.
So he dies. What's happening here? So she kills him. They all save Leia, whatever. They save the day. They go head out, and they blow up essentially a sail barge, right?
Yeah,
If I
so they end
remember
up
correctly.
turning all the guns
That's
on
right, and
herself
just blowing them up.
Blows itself up. And
So that's all done. So they're gone. They escape. Great. So Luke basically takes off in his X-wing and saying he's gonna head off back to Dagobah. While the others head off to, I don't remember where they head off to. They all got in the Millennium Falcon and they all go somewhere. I can't remember where. I guess with the rebels, wherever the rebel base is, or whatever.
Up,
yeah. So they head off there. So there we go. As the others rendezvous with the Rebel Alliance, Luke returns to Dagobah, where he finds that Yoda is dying of old age. He's over 900 years old at this point. Yoda confirms that Darth Vader, once known as Anakin Skywalker, is Luke's father, and becomes one with the Force. He eventually dies. The Force Ghost of Obi-Wan finally reveals himself. Finally reveals that Leia is Luke's twin sister, and tells Luke that he must face Vader again to finish his training and defeat the Empire. Luke says that he's not going to kill him. He sees good in him. He's going to turn him and whatnot. And so they have that moment, and then he gets on his plane and takes off. Okay. And Obi-Wan mentions that he needs to kill him to finish his training to become, I guess, a Jedi Master, because he's a Jedi Knight at this point. Yeah. So the Rebel Alliance learns that the Empire has been constructing a new Death Star under the supervision of the Emperor himself. as the station is protected by an energy shield that's located on the forest moon of Endor. Han leads a strike team to destroy the shield generator on the forest moon. Doing so would allow a squadron of starfighters to destroy this Death Star, similar to Episode 4.
Yeah.
Luke and Leia accompany the strike team to Endor in a stolen Imperial shuttle, giving some old clearance codes. They're able to get through, bypass the shield, and land on the moon.
And at that point, Luke says, "I shouldn't have come."
That's right, because he senses
that sort, that
force feeling, that connection,
yeah,
and senses Darth Vader. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like
jeopardizing the
I'm putting you all in danger. And so they all land on the moon, and so he basically tells them that he's going to leave them. He has to go meet, because I think they even see like the shuttle, like Vader or whatever, landing, like the shuttle kind of lands in the distance.
Yeah.
But before this conversation happens, they land there, and they kind of get separated with some fight between stormtroopers. There's some scout troopers there on the speeder bikes.
On the speeder bikes, yeah. Han's supposed to take care of them quietly, and someone steps on a twig, I believe, and
alerts them. So they jump. So they fight two of them. One takes off, and then I remember Leia gets on one, and doesn't Luke also get on one? Yeah. So they're going off. They're chasing whatever. So Leia gets separated. She ends up managing to take him out, but she no longer has her speeder bike. She's on the floor, and Luke ends up killing the other one, and then she bumps into an Ewok, Wicket, at this point. She gets introduced to him, ends up being friendly with him, feeds him, and they become fast friends. And he decides to take her, I guess, off to meet the rest of the Ewoks. Whereas the Han, Chewie, Luke and company, and C-3PO, they all kind of are wandering around looking for Leia, and they get caught up in a trap. It turns out the trap is set up by the Ewoks. The Ewoks take them down and want to essentially cook them, take them as their slaves. And then they find, and they all start worshiping C-3PO.
That's right.
It turns out he's like a god to them. So they head off to their town with Luke, Han, and Chewie all tied up to be cooked at the stake. And then they try to convince C-3PO to convince them to let them go. He's really a god, blah, blah, blah. Luke uses the Force. They all, bow down to him and set them free, and they're all fast friends. So we get that story. At this point, him and Leia have a talk. He talks about him being his brother, and she's his sister, and then talks about that he has to leave. He's got to confront Vader and try to turn him in, what his plan is. So he leaves off. Han and Leia have a moment. Han's like, you know what? I'm not going to get in any way anymore. You obviously, love this guy. Or no, she asks, do you love him? And she goes, of course I love him. He goes, okay, I'm not going to get in your way anymore. I'm done with this. And she's like, no, not like that. He's my brother. He's like, oh, okay.
He's like, yes.
Score.
No more competition.
Yeah. So Luke heads off to meet Vader. He gets handcuffed. He gets taken up to the new Death Star to meet the Emperor. He's in the elevator. He's in handcuffs. Vader has his lightsaber. They have a heart-to-heart conversation, and Luke's talking about him. Vader's telling him to join him to kill the Emperor, and they can rule. And Luke's telling him to turn from the dark side. You're just good in him. Join me. Blah blah blah. So they're having their conversation. So we're all there. Blah 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 blah. Okay, so the Emperor reveals, so they arrive in front of the Emperor. The Emperor reveals that the Death Star is actually fully operational and that the Rebel fleet will fall into a trap. On Endor, Han's team is captured by Imperial forces, but a counterattack by the Ewoks allows the Rebels to infiltrate the shield generator. Meanwhile, Lando, Calrissian, and Admiral Akbar and the rest of the Rebel fleet arrive in the Millennium Falcon and the rest of their X-Wings, only to find that the Death Star shield is active and the Imperial fleet is waiting for them. So they're having this huge space battle. We have the battle that's going on the forest floor with the Ewoks and the Stormtrooper. Yeah, and then we have Luke up in the Emperor's throne room.
Yeah, watching it from the window.
Yeah. So further adding to the crisis, the Emperor reveals to Luke that the Death Star is fully armed and operational and orders the firing of its massive super laser, destroying one of the Rebel starships. The Emperor then tempts Luke to give in to his anger, and Luke engages Vader in a lightsaber battle. Vader senses that Luke has a sister and threatens to turn her to the dark side. Enraged, Luke attacks and severs Vader's prosthetic hand. The Emperor entreats Luke to kill Vader and to take his place, but Luke refuses, declaring himself a Jedi, throws his lightsaber away, and says, I'll never turn to the dark side. Furious, the Emperor tortures Luke with Force lightning. Unwilling to let his son die, Vader throws the Emperor to his death, but is mortally electrocuted in the process. At his father's last request, Luke removes Vader's mask, and the redeemed Anakin Skywalker dies in his son's arms. On the flip side, after the strike team destroys the shield generator, Lando leads a group of Rebel fighters into the Death Star core. While the Rebel fleet destroys the Super Star Destroyer, the Executor, Lando and X-Wing pilot Wedge Antilles destroy its main reactor as the Falcon flies out of the Death Star's superstructure and the whole thing explodes. Luke escapes on a shuttle with his father's body. The station explodes. And on Endor, Leia reveals to Han, well, this already happened, that Luke is his brother. They kiss. Luke, and then we get to the end where they all kind of meet. Luke then cremates Anakin's body on a pyre alone before rejoining his friends, and that's a very ceremonial thing the Jedi's do.
Yeah.
To burn the people, and I guess it might be part of the process of them becoming a Force ghost. I don't know. So we'll get into that.
One back with the
Absolutely. Okay, so then they're all partying, having a big party on Endor as rebels celebrate the defeat of the Empire. Luke sees the spirits of Yoda, Obi-Wan, and Anakin watching over him, and then, as per the new CG versions, we pan over every single planet in the Star Wars universe, and everyone is cheering and celebrating at the same time because they happen to know what's happened at this part of the galaxy at the same time, but it is. And then we get roll credits. So that was a really quick synopsis of the end. But feel free, let's dive into any part.
What were your guys' thoughts on how the original film had a different character for the Force Ghost, and then they brought Hayden Christensen in as the Vader for the Force Ghost?
Well, it's weird. So if Obi-Wan had reverted to his younger self when he died, then if that's what the Force Ghosts do, I wouldn't have an issue. But the fact that old Obi-Wan is still Alec Guinness as a Force Ghost, Yoda is still old Yoda, so why would Anakin de-age? That doesn't make sense. So that's why I think it's a silly choice. Even though we are more used to Anakin being Hayden Christensen because we saw him for 2 movies, and then we saw this guy literally in one scene without his mask on, so maybe he felt the audience would be more connected to see Anakin and understanding that's him. But I think that if that was the case, then he should have removed Alec Guinness to Ewan McGregor and Yoda back down to young, which would have upset fans that Alec Guinness was taken out, right? You can't replace Alec Guinness.
Agree 100%.
Yeah. Yep. Now, do you think they did it because young Anakin was still good and the old Anakin was
That's
not?
Possible.
So they're going with, true Jedi. He was young when he was a real Jedi.
But then why didn't he do it in the original movies? He could have gotten anyone to stand in to do it, young Anakin. He didn't because
I think just convenience.
Because he redeemed himself. I just assumed the fact that it's true. The fact that he is a Force ghost means that he died a Jedi. He was redeemed, and because the Sith, as we know, they aren't Force ghosts. They appear in their tombs in lore and stuff like that, via Sith holocrons and other apparitions and other stuff like that. But they're not like just floating the universe as Force ghosts wherever they want to appear. So, I would assume that the fact that he was a Force ghost is he did come back to the light side. But it was an interesting choice. I think he should have left it or de-aged everyone, which I think would have been more of an upset.
Yeah, I think it would have been best if they just kept it, but I think this was their opportunity to cash in and say, oh, we made a change and we put Hayden Christensen, who you all know as
it was a silly decision. I mean, especially if you think going forward, other characters who may or may not become Force ghosts will probably be old versions and not young versions, right? So it's silly, but it is what it is. We can't change it now, unfortunately. Didn't bug me as much as the average person, but I would have rather he left it.
Excellent. And how about the parting at the end? Do you think that was needed at all?
No, we don't need that stuff.
No.
They even changed the Ewok celebration song. They changed it. The original one was fine. They changed it completely to it was like a yub yub something whatever, and then now it's like an actual different song. I'm like, okay. So again, him and his music, he just wants to change it up.
I feel like they didn't want to change the core of the story, but they're making silly little add-ons just to add it on because they're like, oh, we're updating it, we're making it look better.
They should have just did the add-ons like they did in episode 4, where they added stuff to the backgrounds to make it more full and more alive. That would have been better than like changing the core main points of the story, and not really changing the story, but just changing like
filler,
the things that are up in your face. Like you don't want to change focus, in my opinion, but it's a choice you made, I guess. What, do you guys want to discuss the fight scene?
Sure.
Do you guys think that Luke at all tapped into the dark side when he fought Vader because of his comments about his sister and like turning her to the dark side? He's like, no, he just goes ham on him. I always think that I look at that as in him touching into the dark side, and that's what Emperor's like. Yes, I can feel your anger. You're doing it, and then he realizes crap. Like he looks at his hand. He lost his hand. His dad lost his hand. He realizes he's the same. He's like, I'm not going to become this. I'm not going to become like him. So then he throws his saber and says, I'm done. So I feel that, he did kind of tap into the dark side a little bit there, using his anger to fuel his attack. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I think that, again, like it was a temporary where he realized that he was, and then once he realized he was, he's like, no, this is not, it's not who I am.
Mm-hmm. And he had a vision of it too. Him becoming Vader in that when
episode
Yoda, 5? When he goes into the cave and then the mask pops off and he's like, this could have been me. This is the what they were showing was I could have become Vader. The Emperor wanted him to take over being Vader, take his spot, destroy him, and then but he saw that with the hand and all the
Like
things.
they're
he's
more
seen in
like
the
than he
past.
thought.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a cool symbolism. Like, oh, my hand's a robot. He's got a robotic hand. Like same hand. Like, oh wow, I'm going down the same steps as this guy.
Yeah.
I think originally George Lucas had planned for him to fall to the dark side in this movie,
And I know,
and then they decided to change
Mark
it.
Hamill always wanted to go to the dark side.
Yeah.
He always wanted to
And
play
then get
the
redeemed.
dark character and then get redeemed.
Yeah, and I know in lower and expanding universe, there's now Legends. He does, and his wife Mara Jade ends up bringing him back. So it would have been cool if they explored that, but they decided not to. And I mean, after Episode 9 comes out, we're not getting any more Skywalker stuff.
That's right.
You know, unless it comes out in a TV show, it's pretty much done. So I'm really excited for the future of Star Wars and what they could potentially do with characters like that. You know,
Yeah.
you have an expectation. Oh, it's the good guy's gonna win the day. Nope, he dies or he falls or something changes, and it's like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, unpredictable as well, right?
Yeah.
Or you don't know if they'll be dark side, light side, or die or not. Or, you know, they live. Like it's nice to have that shock value, I guess, right? Like that shock of unpredictability. What do we think of the Battle of Endor? There, longer, shorter, anything different in terms of the battle scene?
I think it is kind of silly that the Ewoks did so much damage to these big. You know,
Well, the tree
trooper.
trunks were the tree trunk attack that destroyed the thing. I think that's realistic from
Yeah, but
how
tripping
heavy
it-
and strong on. But tripping it with the little ropes and them hanging on, that wouldn't have happened.
And like rocks with the stormtroopers.
Yes, and a rock in you have a helmet.
Yeah.
Like, I understand it clearly doesn't work against blaster fire, but a rock, come on, it should protect you against a rock.
Yeah.
It's a little silly, but that was literally those characters were made for kids.
Yeah.
Right. Star Wars is a kids franchise first and
Oh, yeah.
foremost.
Well, they
and
made a cartoon
Ewoks were-
show off the
Yeah.
Ewoks as well.
and it was made for the kid audience to draw them in, to sell toys and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I don't hate the Ewoks as much as some people do. I mean, a lot of people hate Jar Jar more, and I can completely see the
I
reason
definitely
why.
dislike Jar Jar a lot more than
Yeah.
The Ewoks don't
Yes.
bug me
No.
so much. Are they a little silly? Yeah.
I just think it's unrealistic on
Oh.
some of the battle scenes there.
Yes.
But
I think the idea of like, oh, it's the underdog standing up and making a difference, and like, got sticks and rocks, but you do whatever you can to stand up, good versus evil. That was the message I guess he was trying to get across. Could he have done it better? Probably, but at the time when he filmed it, I don't know. Could he have? Could he have come up with another way of doing it? Possibly, potentially, but I mean, they didn't have technology of like, tow cables and things. It was all like things they made in the forest, like wooden sticks, rocks, nets. But yeah, that's all they had.
stuff. Yeah.
So, but it was interesting. I think it could have been shorter, more concise. But I mean, I guess they wanted to fill out some time between like, okay, all this is going on and Luke's going on and the fight, and they had to flip through everything, so they kind of wanted to not have like one scene of the fight and feel like, why was that fight so short and this is so long? But definitely, I thought that the Vader fight was really good in terms of length, in terms of how they uncovered the character development, the kind of
moving
conflict.
around different areas.
We got to see like the lightsaber throw lightsaber, which you never saw up to this point. We've seen Vader choke people. The first time we got to see the Emperor use lightning, and that was like, ooh, Force lightning. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I thought it was a pretty interesting fight. I like the playing with him and like them looking out the window and then him looking at the lightsaber and he's like, go ahead, grab it. And he's like, no, like him struggling, like wanting to kill him, but at the same time not trying to get tempted to the dark side. So I like that. I like that scene. I think George Lucas nailed it from that conflict, that part of the war.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And then him finally grabbing it, trying to strike, and then Vader blocking.
coming up.
That was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did a very good job. I mean, over the years, the prequels had better, I would say, lightsaber battles.
I mean technology.
But with technology and
But Luke's is pretty good.
and stuff like that,
The training,
nowadays they're trained and going a lot faster, and a lot more people, especially after watching the original trilogy, 4, 5, 6. People, started getting sticks or toy lightsabers and practicing different twirls and different like maneuvers and techniques, and then now there's like professionals that do this kind of Jedi lightsaber training stuff. So it's kind of cool that way. But at the time, that was as good as it could get.
Well, I mean, if you look at Empire, because that was the only other big lightsaber fight besides A New Hope, and A New Hope was very, very basic. It was a couple of swipes and it was over. Episode 4 took a step up. But there was like force thrown into it where Luke trying to dodge and hit the things, and then even with this fight, it's a couple of blocks, a couple of hits. But then this one, especially when he got enraged and went after him, he was going boom, 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 and he was going. I'm like, this is cool. Like, you can see the progression of like trying to make it more complex.
Yeah, definitely.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was great.
But also with Darth Vader, like even though he's because he's robotic, maybe he doesn't have that fast movement as well. So he
that's
where he
true.
can't do those maneuvers that we've seen before in the prequels.
Yeah,
right?
and he
So
does
maybe-
fight mostly one-handed as well, and that could also be his strength and his confidence with the lightsaber. That like when a guy's using two hands, he can block it with one.
Mhm.
That's how good he is, which is a cool like idea. But yeah, you're right. I didn't think of that.
Yeah.
He is robotic, so he's not going to be able to be as.
Agile,
He's going to be a little more stiff. Yeah.
yeah. So I'm thinking maybe that's why he was like that. I
He's
don't know.
more strength than speed and technique.
Makes
Mhm.
sense. Makes sense. So yeah, I thought it was good. And then what do you think of the big airspace, the space battle at the end?
I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah. Did you feel like it was a carbon copy of the first one?
Yeah.
Felt similar.
Yeah, right. I
But
mean, it was a bigger scale, but at the same time, it was okay. Instead of them going down a trench run, they're going through the Death Star because it's like half built. But it was the same thing. Guys chasing them, boom, 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 getting knocked around, getting through. They could have decided to do it differently somehow. Maybe Luke on the inside destroys it while they're distracting the fighters, or just somehow, or maybe like I mean, we've seen in Rogue One where the Hammerhead just comes and rams. Like they just come up with a new concept of making it different. I mean, they worked with what they had at the time, I guess. But
yeah, the big super weapon was the same big super weapon.
Yeah.
The way they destroyed it, it's pretty much the same. The way they destroyed it. So
yeah.
So we Death Star 1 or Death Star 2? We like more.
I like Death Star 1 visually.
yeah, it was
The
complete.
first time you see it,
It was
just a
harder
cool
to
thing.
destroy.
Flew around.
Yeah, and actually,
The second one was bigger. Clearly, as you can see, it was a bigger size, but it's the
I'm
same
actually a
thing.
fan of the second one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't
The
know, just
openness?
it's different. Yeah, it's just different.
It is a cool art style to it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Aesthetically, that's
You got the moon protecting you with the shield.
yeah,
Different.
a little bit smarter. They're trying to protect it more while it's still being built, not
Yeah.
fully operational.
Mhm.
So I mean, that's interesting. Any other notes about the movie at all? Jabba's palace, Yoda, the conversation with Yoda there, and Obi-Wan showing up.
It was nice to see a bunch of different creatures in Jabba's palace.
Yeah.
You saw a lot of different alien types. The little, what's his name?
Oh, Salacious B. Crumb, the little Kowakian monkey lizard.
Kowakian monkey, yeah. So it was cool to see him,
Yeah.
a little court jester type
Mhm.
character.
And it eats droids. Apparently, he's like eating
Yes.
C-3PO's eye.
Yeah, yeah, during the battle. So it was pretty cool to see all that, and then yeah, it was nice.
Yeah.
Get
So-
more of Jawa as well, or Jabba.
All right, so we enjoyed the movie. Let's go through the regular plot as a whole story.
I thought it was a good plot.
Yeah.
Strong. It answered all the questions you had
Yep.
in the first two movies. You got, you saw Yoda, what happened to him. You saw that he, died of old age. You learned, not just Luke's his father, but you have the sister brother of Luke and Leia.
Mhm.
So you got a lot of information in the last movie that you're craving for. So it was a nice conclusion. So if they only did the three movies, you were happy that you got all the answers. You weren't waiting for like prequels or sequels or anything to that. So I was very happy with the plot.
Okay.
Yeah, it ties everything nicely together. I don't know what else to say, but I think the Yoda going was necessary to the plot, right? Like that was he
Yeah.
had to die in order for Luke to really accept things and to get going, right?
Mhm.
He was the last Jedi kind of guy.
So-
at that time, he was
Yeah.
the last.
After Yoda passed, it was just him.
So I think it answered all the questions that we had from the previous two and tied everything else nicely. And it seemed fitting for the conclusion, just everything tied off.
Yeah.
Okay. What did you guys think of the script, the screenplay, the dialogue? Anything that was cheesy or weird choices? Anything that bugged
Nothing
you?
really popped out that was cheesy, character wise or line wise. I
Yeah.
thought it was well written, well acted, and nothing that was really cheesy other than the added CGI.
Just
stuff.
the added stuff.
That's
that-
the one I was
that
going
The
after.
added
Yeah.
stuff is a distractor.
which
That's
is,
what I was just
which
about to
was
say,
added
yeah.
later on as just a little shine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The CG, that was my big thing I was gonna say. But
No,
That's what made it
that's fine.
cheesy. Was
Yeah, I
those
was gonna
CGI
say
bits.
effects was my next thing. So CGI and effects.
Yeah, didn't like
So the
any-
new stuff you didn't like, but
they
the
could've
original
gone-
stuff.
The original stuff for that time, especially, is amazing. Still holds up for the most part. I mean, you can tell it's old school technology, which is still fine.
Like you could tell,
I
like
enjoy
when,
that
when
stuff.
the logs come down to smash the AT, you could tell it was like, okay, this is a different shot, and like
Yeah, which is
it was more
fine.
animated
I
or
was
whatever.
okay with that.
It
Especially
was
as
cool.
an
I
older
enjoyed it.
movie, it makes it that classic, right?
yes,
It gives it that classic feel to
vintage,
it.
yeah.
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 So it was nice that way. Yeah, I didn't like this. They could have gone without adding. If I would have preferred, as you said, the added background stuff, or some more ships in the background, or creatures here and there. Don't change songs. Don't add different things, celebrations. That kind of stuff. Could have gone without that by far.
For sure. And what about the villain?
Who would
Emperor
you say
Palpatine. I would say Palpatine.
Yeah,
I mean, Vader was Empire Strikes Back. Palpatine was definitely like, not only do we see him as a hologram, he's here physically. He's there menacing. He's attacking Luke. This is what it all comes down to. He's the big bad. So I would say he is the main villain because Darth Vader, other than the confrontation with Luke, which he doesn't fight him until in the throne room, and it's the Emperor that's causing like the puppet strings, the puppet master, so to speak. So yeah, I'd say absolutely it's him.
Yeah. I thought he was good as a villain, as the main villain, and is necessary. Again, like you have to upgrade each movie, and he's the top, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I think he was necessary to. It couldn't be Vader again. It had to be Palpatine as the main one, and then for him to be taken out by Vader was quite fitting as well.
Yeah. So it's nice to see. He looks like this frail little old man that just
withered.
Vader's his bodyguard, and if he didn't have him, he'd be in trouble. But then you see he is very powerful, mentally and physically. With the lightning strikes and just taking Luke down, who's still a strong Jedi and young, and then taking Vader down as much as he could while being lifted up by him, and essentially killing Vader in the end due to the battle. But he just looks so frail, but he's so powerful. And then the mind games, the mind games that he's able to play. He's playing 3 steps ahead of everyone else in these chess games that he's playing and pulling strings and stuff like that. So he's very smart that way. And we learn more in the prequels about it, but how far ahead he thought about his plans. And
So I wanted to bring that in here. So from a motivational standpoint, at the time, without the prequels present, do you felt like his motivations were straightforward and solid and made sense? He's the Emperor. He wants to rule the galaxy. He
wanted power and to rule everything.
Like without knowing,
he had less knowledge. Stuff. So
if you're just looking at about 4, 5, and 6,
the beginning, you know of him, right?
So you just know of him. He's this big guy who's telling Vader what to do, and then he appears and he's got this plan. His goal, like Vader, you get your son. You're gonna bring. Like, he tells his plan. We need him to join us. We're gonna be the most powerful, whatever. But then we find out that he wants him to kill Vader because there's only 2. He doesn't talk about only 2, but he wants him to kill Vader and take his place to rule the galaxy because he wants to stay number 1. We know that he flat out says his plan, like he knew that the rebels were coming. It was a trick. That it wasn't operational. It really is. We're going to kill you. And the base, your little friends are down there. We know about them too. Surprise! We got a platoon waiting for them. Like he knew what was going on.
Yeah.
But his motivations of like wanting to rule the galaxy, I didn't feel like we were very clear. Other than he's the big bad guy. He's the big government guy, and he just wants to do it because he wants to do it.
Yeah, it seemed like he just wanted to destroy all the Jedi and rebels and just rule anything that he wanted to rule. I didn't feel any like governmental.
No, there's nothing there. Right?
No. There's something that way. Political at all. So it was just like it seemed like he just wanted to rule anything that he wanted to. And then have control of whatever he wanted without those pesky people interfering with him.
And then with the prequels, I feel like
it
enriches. Like, okay, so he came from here. He was always a Sith Lord, but like how he had to kill his master to become the new master, and then train new people and take his steps and play with the pawns and kind of get to the point where not only is he wanting to kill the Jedi and rule the galaxy from like there's no one to defy me, no one else can use the Force, I'm the most powerful physically, but also like I want to be military wise, I want to rule every planet. Everyone has to bow to me and do what I say, kind of thing. And I think you kind of get that, and you get to see that grow. And I thought it was well done. It enriched.
Yeah, the background of his story. Yep.
Yeah, I feel the prequels gave a great history on not just the Jedi, but the Sith and their background, their history. How both Vader and Palpatine grew to such power that they had in the 4, 5, 6 episodes. And then 4, 5, 6 were kind of like, oh, this is kind of the history of the Jedi. They're kind of a dead breed, and and a little bit of history that way, but not much in the dark side history.
So comparing, I guess 5 and 6, we'll leave Tarkin out of here. Who do you think's a better villain, Vader or Emperor? I can start. For me, I think Vader hands down was more scary, more like, ooh, this guy's coming,
He's
better
got
watch
the
out.
mask, the black. He's all
Everything about it.
big.
Walks the
big,
purpose.
solid guy.
The Emperor, yeah, he's smart, and yeah, he's got power, he's got lightning, but like he pretty much was one note from that perspective. It wasn't until the prequels that you see, oh, this guy can fight with a lightsaber, he can do so much more.
Yeah.
He
Well,
just
you never
chooses-
see him
he
with
just-
the lightsaber in the 4, 5,
He didn't
6.
need to,
Yeah.
right?
5,
He
6.
just does what he does.
Yeah.
In a way.
Vader was my choice under that.
Yeah, just so big, menacing. He's got that lightsaber
Presence,
that
yeah.
he could do. He has
the
a
presence,
strong
yeah.
force that he could, control. And the mask was always awesome.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
liked it.
Okay, so with that, I guess we're gonna jump right into our ranking here. So I'm just gonna run through our current ranking, and then we'll decide where we want to squeeze Return of the Jedi in here. So going backwards, starting and at spot number 7. Starting at spot number 7, we have Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. At spot number 6, Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. Spot number 5, Solo: A Star Wars Story. Spot number 4, Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. We have at spot number 3, Episode 5, Empire Strikes Back. At rank number 2, Rogue One: A Star Wars Story. And at first place, we have Episode 4, A New Hope. So, Return of the Jedi. We're gonna have to squeeze this in here. So we'll start at the bottom. I mean, let's give it some thought first before we jump in. But I mean, I think we is this better than Episode 1?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think for sure, right? And Episode 2?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So now we're at the Solo Episode 3 mark. Let's give it some thought overall, not just at the movie of its time, because I think if you forget everything else that's come out and just look at the 3 movies, I think this would rank higher than I would put it now when you're actually going up against a lot of these newer movies and the story building and stuff. That's my personal opinion. So before we decide here, think about that. Think about where you feel it fits in compared to everything as Star Wars is known today, and its impact, not just as an individual movie, but its impact to the story of everything. So, I mean, I know for me, it's a very, very pivotal movie in understanding a lot about Luke and the Emperor and Vader and like what's going on. The prequels definitely enrich what's there, but kind of brings the finale to the main story. But at the same time, I mean, it literally was save Han in the beginning from Jabba, then we separate, he goes to speak to Yoda, and then we're on Endor for the rest of the movie. Like, it was really like boom, boom, boom. Kind of felt it sped along, and it was drawn out from like, okay, now the Ewoks are present, and now I don't know, I kind of felt like there was a lot of lulls from okay, let's get the story on. Let's kind of keep going. They kind of had to fill in the time.
Yeah, the main topic.
Yeah,
the
the definitely Act 3 was great, but so give that some thought, and then we'll continue here. When you guys are ready, if you kind of know where you want to put it here, let me know.
All right. So where are we at next?
So the next one is. So do we think it's better than Solo: A Star Wars Story?
Yeah. I would say yes.
Okay.
So that's where you.
That's where I'm gonna put it.
You're gonna
Yeah.
put it there.
Actually, well, let's keep going. Is it better than Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith? So I'm gonna say yes. It
I
was
would
better than
say
Episode 3,
yes.
but I like Solo. I like Solo better. It's weird, but okay. So, okay. Well, I mean, I already voted here, so if it's better, it's majority. So if you guys like it better than Episode 3,
yeah.
Okay. Is it better than Episode 5, Empire Strikes Back?
Yeah. I would say yes. I felt
So
5 was
it's
more
got to be
of a-
majority.
Yeah, I felt
So
5
if
was
James
more
says
of a-
no, it
Give me a
stops.
second. Give me a second. Yeah.
Take your time. And then above that, we have Rogue One and Episode 4, New Hope.
Yeah, I don't think it's better than Rogue One.
So you think it's above Empire, but below Rogue One?
And I'm starting to feel like Rogue One should be number 1.
You know what? If I give it more consideration, I do think it's better than Solo. Just for its importance to the whole story. But Revenge of the Sith,
I'll go better than episode.
I
5.
really like Revenge of the Sith a lot. So for me, it's struggling to beat
Okay.
that and Episode 5. So I'm cool with it better than Solo, but I don't know. For me, for Episode 3, is it better than Episode 3? It's tough for me. I really like 3.
Okay.
What about you?
I think it's better than episode 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do I.
And you think it's better than 5? And do you think?
And I think it's better than 5. I had to
Okay,
think
so
about it.
so it's better than 5. So it's
Yes.
still majority. Is
Yes.
it better than Rogue One?
No.
Okay.
That's where I had to
But
think about number.
Can we
episode
go
5.
back?
I'm gonna
Do
go
we
through.
think? Let's
Well, while we're at
it.
it, you might as well
Yeah.
make Solo better than.
Well,
We can't rechange it. At the
I
end, I said,
know.
"Here's where we lied."
I know.
And I was like, "Would we like to amend this list?"
Well, I think maybe 1, 2 we might be like. Do you think Rogue One's better than Episode 4?
Rogue One is a great story, but Episode 4 was just like that's how Star Wars began. Yeah. That's like the main story of like everything. Like not only if even if that's not your first Star Wars movie, which for a lot of us it was, it's like even when you get to it and you watch the prequels and you watch 4, and it's like here's a story and Luke's journey and everything and how he gets involved in the conflict, and we get Han and we get all this like pieces. I thought it was a great overall movie.
All right.
Okay,
So
Episode 6, Return
Episode 4.
of the Jedi. Okay.
I'm just trying to throw everything in a loop.
You're just trying to change it.
Why not?
And just want.
Don't worry.
He's going rogue.
Don't worry. The next few movies that we end up doing is really going to get decisive. Because, because that's where people are going to be upset on the internet, even more so than.
I know where one's going. I know where the other one's going in my head.
I know where one is going. The other one,
It's gonna be a game time decision.
Yeah, it is gonna be a game time decision.
Okay, well, here's the ranking as it stands right now. In first place, we have Episode 4, A New Hope. In second place, we have Rogue One, A Star Wars Story. In third place, Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. In fourth place, Episode 5, Empire Strikes Back. In fifth place, Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. In sixth place, Solo, A Star Wars Story. Seventh place, Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. And in eighth place, Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. So with that, folks, let us know what you think. Do you agree with us? Do you absolutely disagree with our ranking at thus far? Let us know. Drop a comment below. List your ranking as it is thus far.
Has it been changing?
Has it been changing and debatable?
Well, there's so many good movies, right? So it's hard to go back.
It's really tough.
I knew as we get further and further, this is going to be difficult to do.
Difficult. Yeah, let us know what your thoughts are. If you agree or disagree with any of our opinions on the movie. If there's a scene that we omitted that maybe is one of your favorites, let us know. You can shoot us an email at nerdstalkinfo@gmail.com. You can also subscribe to our channel to support us, like the video, and as always, friends, stay nerdy.